I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Snow Peak milk bottle, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. Contrary to its name, this isn't just a bottle that you can put milk in. You can put whatever other drink you would like in here. So what I primarily did was I put my coffee in here. So it's a very standard bottle design. It opens up with the lid. You can see the inside here. And what this is the insulation is up to, it says like up to 6 hours. I found that my coffee stayed a lot hotter in here, but it was like from like boiling water, and I found that that lasted like well over 6 hours, that it was like actually actively hot. But if like when I poured my like coffee in here to drink, I left the lid off because it was just like sitting on my desk. But when I'm traveling, it's a little bit more difficult, so I don't love that there's not like an actual place to drink from the lid that I can maybe like air it out a little bit. But if you want to make sure that your coffee or your drink or your tea or whatever you have in here stays really hot or really cold, it does the job well for that. So that's good news. Like I mentioned, the cap's just very simple. It is very easy to clean the cap, so it's just this little gusset that pops off, and that's pretty easy to get clean. What I did have an issue with was cleaning the inside of this bottle itself. You can see I have some like leftover residue from my last cup of coffee. I couldn't get like a standard size sponge in here really easily to like clean it off on the sides. I would say a bottle brush really was the best fit here, and that's just because this mouth is actually pretty skinny. So it has this like ergonomic shape to it, which I really like because when you're holding it, it's almost like, I like holding my coffee cups like a little bit higher up versus like in the dead center. And I like it because it's almost like a natural spot to put my finger and my thumb. So it feels very, very comfortable to hold. You can grab it from the top if you want to. I don't know if you're like picking it up or whatever. But I liked holding it. I liked sipping out of it. I also liked the lip of this because when you're sipping from it and there's kind of like this bit where it juts out here, you can see it's a pretty harsh line. There, you can see it a little bit better there. You can see it's a pretty harsh line, but my lip sat really nicely just on this ledge. So in terms of like actual drinking experience, it worked really, really well. I would say like the biggest issue that I had with it was the fact that it was a little bit harder to clean. And this lid, I just didn't love the fact that I had to take it off every single time. What I did like about it, or another thing that I didn't like about the lid, was it would develop like a lot of condensation on the underside here if I was like taking it off and putting it back on again. That's gonna happen with any lid, so it's not really a fault of this here, but if you're gonna be taking it off to take a sip, just kind of keep that in mind, that there's gonna be some condensation on the inside there. But in general, it has a pretty sleek design on the outside. There's no like bumps or bruises or even scratches really on the outside here. Just a really subtle logo here. And it is pretty lightweight too. It's 7.1 ounces. But as like a kind of frame of reference, the Stanley Aerolite is 9.6 ounces in terms of weight, but it has a 20 ounce capacity. So there are lighter bottles with a higher capacity. This one is 11.8 ounces. So it's really best for people who don't need a ton of coffee on a daily basis, which is me. I think packability is really where this bottle thrives. I'll show you in comparison to a couple of other bottles in a second, but this fit in every single cup holder that I tried to put it in. It's like thin enough to go in there. And then with the lid too, despite what I was saying about the fact that like it doesn't have a mouthpiece or whatever, the nice part about that is that I had no issues with this leaking, and I didn't have to worry about like the mouthpiece popping open or something like that, which is something that if I'm sticking a coffee cup in my bag, I'm a little bit more concerned about. So what I liked about this was that I could close this, put it in my backpack, even if I didn't have a water bottle pocket available on the outside, if I wanted to use that for my actual water bottle. I could throw this in a bag, I could throw this in a sling, and I didn't have to worry about it leaking out of the top. So in terms of packability, I think this thing does very well. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Looking at this bottle in comparison to 2 others, these are gonna roll all over the place, so bear with me. We have another Snow Peak bottle and we have a Hydro Flask. So starting off with the Kampai here, they say it's a 350 milliliter, which is the same as this bottle here. But you can see that it's just a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. Even on the bottom, it's like a little bit wider. And on their site, they say it's 13.2 ounces versus like the 18.8 if you convert the milliliters directly to ounces. So you do get a little bit more with this, and it does have the lid on it as well. So this one also comes with a couple of different lid options. So you can really pick like which style you actually want to use. But we like this one because it's pretty lightweight. It's 10 ounces, so it's only a little bit heavier technically than the milk bottle. And the hot water was still, same temperature, pretty scalding with this one. So I would say like really going more for like style and drinking functionality, because performance for these two is really pretty similar. With the Hydro Flask, this one is 12 ounces, so it's a little bit more in terms of capacity, but it is a little bit chunkier. So you can see that the lid is just like, it just comes up a little bit higher. But what's nice about it is that it has a carry handle, which is kind of the signature of our Hydro Flask. And then it also has the mouthpiece, so you can drink out of this one, which is something that the Snow Peak doesn't have. So really, like, in terms of weight, it's also heavier than either of these from Snow Peak. So you're gonna have to kind of decide what your preference is in terms of, I would say style more than anything, because the Hydro Flask was like 9 to 10 hours when we could, like, stuff was still really hot in the bottle, so, or still hot in the bottle. So really it comes down to like the style and what kind of mouthpiece you want, to be quite honest, because I think that in terms of like packability and honestly for me, aesthetic, I really like the milk bottle. And the fact that it doesn't have a mouthpiece, like, is kind of a trade-off. So if that doesn't bother you much, then this is going to be a great option. So there you have it, the Snow Peak milk bottle. Thanks for keeping it here at Backhacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.